Your sister needed it more, Mom justified. But when the bank's fraud department traced the transfers, they found $47,000 taken during my cancer treatment. The FI agent looked at my parents and said, "What happened next?" "Your daughter didn't just steal money," Agent Catherine Brooks said, her voice cutting through my parents' protests. "She accessed her sister's account 127 times while she was unconscious in chemotherapy. She watched her sister's cancer fund donations come in and stole them within hours. This is wire fraud, identity theft, and given that some donations crossed state lines, it's federal. My name is Julia, and I'm writing this from my hospital bed, where I'm recovering not just from stage 3 breast cancer, but from the betrayal that cut deeper than any surgeon's knife. It started 8 months ago when I was diagnosed. 29 years old, single, and suddenly facing the fight of my life. The medical bills were staggering. Insurance covered some, but with experimental treatments, specialized surgeons, and months of inability to work, I was looking at over $200,000 in costs. My community rallied. Friends organized fundraisers, coworkers donated PTOs so I could keep my benefits, and strangers contributed to my GoFundMe. Within 3 months, we'd raised $47,000, enough to cover my immediate treatments and keep me afloat during recovery. My younger sister Lauren was my designated helper. She managed my appointments when chemo brain made me foggy, handled my bills when I was too sick to focus, and had access to my accounts to pay for medications and treatments. "Don't worry about anything," she'd said, holding my hand during my first treatment. "I've got you. Just focus on getting better." I trusted her completely. Lauren was the golden child, married to a successful developer, living in a gorgeous house, driving a new Range Rover. Why would I question her? The first sign something was wrong came during month 4 of treatment. A bill from my oncologist bounced. "That's impossible," I told the billing clerk from my hospital bed. "I have over $30,000 in that account." She rechecked. "I'm showing a balance of $346. I was too weak to investigate properly. When I asked Lauren, she said there must be a banking error, that she'd handle it. I was having surgery the next day. I had to trust her. But bills kept bouncing. The specialty pharmacy called about unpaid prescriptions. My landlord said my rent check was returned. Each time, Lauren had an explanation: banking delays, insurance mix-ups, administrative errors. "You're so sick, Jules," she'd say, tears in her eyes. "Let me handle this stress for you." Then came the day that changed everything. My friend Melissa, who'd organized my main fundraiser, called while I was getting my 7th round of chemo. "Julia, I'm looking at your GoFundMe, and it says you've withdrawn everything. Are you okay? Do you need more help?" "I haven't withdrawn anything," I said, my chemo-fogged brain struggling. "Lauren handles the banking." "Julia," Melissa's voice was strange. "I can see the withdrawal history. It's all going to an account that isn't yours." With shaking hands, I opened my banking app for the first time in months. What I saw made me vomit, and not from the chemo. $47,000. Gone. Transferred out in increments over 4 months. $2,000 here, $3,500 there. Always just under the amounts that would trigger federal reporting. But it was the timing that shattered me. She'd taken $5,000 the day after my double mastectomy, $3,000 while I was unconscious during reconstruction surgery, $4,500 during a week I was in ICU with an infection, fighting for my life. I called my parents, hysterical. They came to the hospital immediately, but their reaction wasn't what I expected. "There must be an explanation," Mom said, not meeting my eyes. "Check with Lauren first before making accusations," Dad added. "Family doesn't steal from family." But I was done checking. I called my bank's fraud department from my hospital bed, IV still in my arm, and reported the theft. The investigation was swift and damning. The transfers all went to accounts belonging to Lauren and her husband Blake. The metadata showed the transfers were made from Lauren's phone, often while she was supposed to be at the hospital with me. "This is systematic theft," the fraud investigator told me. "The pattern suggests someone who knew exactly when you'd be incapacitated and unable to notice." When Detective Michael Torres arrived at my hospital room, he brought evidence that made everything worse. "Your sister didn't just take your medical fund," he said, showing me printed records. "She also opened 3 credit cards in your name, maxing them out. Another $18,000 in debt. She used your social security number, your date of birth, everything she had access to as your medical power of attorney. But she has money, I whispered. The house, the cars. Detective Torres' expression was grim. We've discovered your sister and her husband have been living far beyond their means. They're facing foreclosure, bankruptcy. Your medical fund was keeping them afloat. The confrontation happened in my hospital room because I was too weak to leave. Lauren arrived with our parents, playing the concerned sister until she saw Detective Torres. Jules, what's going on? She tried for innocence, but her voice shook. You stole my cancer fund, I said flatly. All of it. While I was dying, you were stealing from me. I was going to pay it back. The admission burst out of her. Blake's development deal fell through. We just needed a loan. A loan? I struggled to sit up, rage giving me strength. You took money people donated to keep me alive. I couldn't pay for my medications because of you. Your sister needed it more, Mom interjected. She has a family, a mortgage. You're single. No kids. I hate cancer. I screamed. I needed that money for CHEMTHERAPY. Family shares everything, Dad said weakly. Lauren was going through a hard time. I was going through cancer. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She watched me suffer, held my hand during chemo, then went home and stole the money meant to save my life. Agent Brooks from the FBI arrived then, having been called in due to the interstate nature of the fraud. Donations had come from across the country. Mr. and Mrs. Hamilton, she said to my parents, are you aware that your daughter Lauren accessed Julia's account 127 times during her treatment? That she specifically timed the thefts for when Julia was unconscious or incapacitated. My parents' faces went white. Furthermore, Agent Brooks continued, we have evidence Lauren researched Julia's treatment schedule, accessed her medical records to know when she'd be most vulnerable, and even delayed paying certain medical bills to keep more money available for theft. She knew when I'd be too sick to check, I realized aloud. She volunteered to be my medical advocate to have access. Lauren broke down. You don't understand the pressure. Everyone expects us to be perfect. The house, the lifestyle. Blake would leave me if he knew we were broke. So you decided I should die instead? I asked. Because that's what happens when cancer patients can't afford treatment, Lauren. They die. You're being dramatic. 3 of my treatments were delayed because of bounce payments. I cut her off. My surgeon almost canceled my reconstruction. The infection I got? That was because I couldn't afford the premium antibiotics and had to take a generic that I'm allergic to. You remember that infection, right? The one that almost killed me. Lauren went silent. You visited me in the ICU, I continued. Cried about how scared you were of losing me. Then stole another $4,500 while I was on a ventilator. The arrest was swift. Lauren was charged with wire fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. Blake was charged as an accessory. They found evidence he'd helped plan the thefts, even creating fake invoices for medical equipment to cover their tracks. But it was my parents' reaction that hurt almost as much as the betrayal. You're really going to send your sister to prison? Mom asked. Over money? She stole my cancer fund, I said for what felt like the 100th time. She could have killed me. But she didn't, Dad argued. You're getting better. Why ruin her life? She ruined her own life when she chose theft over my life, I replied. They sided with Lauren through the trial, hiring her lawyers, putting up their retirement for her bail. They testified that I'd always been selfish with money, and that Lauren was just borrowing what families should share freely. The evidence was overwhelming. The banking records, the timed thefts, the credit cards, the fake invoices. But what sealed Lauren's fate was a text exchange between her and Blake that investigators found. Blake, how much more can you get? Lauren, she's going into surgery tomorrow. Should be out for hours. I can probably move 5K without triggering alerts. Blake, perfect. The mortgage is due. Lauren, I feel bad. She looked really sick today. Blake, it's just money. She'll get more donations. Lauren, true, and it's not like she has kids to support. We need it more. Listening to those texts read in court while still bald from chemo, still weak from radiation, still carrying the scars from surgeries I almost couldn't afford, it broke something in me that cancer hadn't touched. Lauren was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. Blake got 3. The judge was particularly harsh because of the premeditated nature, using my medical schedule to time thefts, taking advantage of my vulnerable state. This wasn't a desperate decision, the judge said. This was calculated cruelty against a family member fighting for their life. My parents still visit Lauren in prison. They've cut me off completely, saying I'm heartless for not forgiving family. Extended relatives are split, some appalled by what Lauren did, others saying I should have just given her the money as she needed it. I've had to rebuild everything. The community that originally donated rallied again when the story made the news, raising enough to cover my remaining treatments. My friend Melissa manages the funds now. I'll never give family financial access again. The cancer is in remission. I'm winning that battle. But the betrayal metastasized through my family in ways that no radiation can touch. I lost more than money. I lost the sister who was supposed to be my rock, parents who should have protected me, and the naive belief that blood means loyalty. Lauren writes me letters from prison. I don't read them. Mom sends messages through friends saying Lauren is sorry, that she's suffered enough, that I'm killing them with my coldness. But I'm alive. Against the cancer's odds and Lauren's theft, I'm alive. I survived malignant cells and malignant family. The medical debt is crushing, the family loss devastating. But every morning I wake up is a victory Lauren tried to steal from me. She thought my cancer made me weak, vulnerable, an easy target. She was wrong. Cancer taught me to fight for my life. When she tried to take that life through theft, she learned that survivors don't just survive disease. We survive betrayal too, even when it comes from the people who should love us most. Especially then.